Joining us now, former governor of Virginia. He was also the chairman of the 9/11 Commission when he was governor of Virginia, and he was the governor during 9/11 here in Virginia. He also ran for U.S. Senate, and he's joining us now. Former governor of Virginia, Republican Jim Gilmore. Hey, Governor, good to have you.
I understand you got a little touch of laryngitis. You get that when you come to the swamp, John. I just wanted to warn you.
You really do. I know. I've been sick for 2 weeks, and I kind of got rid of it, and then Monday it came back, and I had to leave early. But we're making it through the day. Governor, I want to talk about this tax plan. What do you think?
Well, look, I think that the tax plan is essential. I can't vouch for each and every provision of this because I think it's still in progress. But I can say to your listeners that it's essential that we get a tax reform. And the reason is because that we have to grow the economy. You can't any longer run the country successfully with a zero-sum game, just transferring money from one person to another. You have to add more money, more revenue, and that means more economic activity. The left in this country wants to condemn corporations every day, and I understand that, but we need to remember that small business and corporations are the engine of growth in this country. They hire people, they pay wages. And the more we ramp up the economy, the more demand there will be for workers, and therefore wages will go up. And that's the reality of economics. So we have to have a tax plan. I can't vouch for this tax plan, and I certainly wouldn't do it out of my nonprofit, but as a politician, I can tell you that I believe that we have to grow the economy, and tax reform is the only way to do it.
So many of Republicans that are focused on cutting the debt are calling in and telling me, well, look, there's no assurance that this tax cut is going to generate additional revenues. What if the debt continues to go up? How do you respond to that, Governor?
Well, I think there were tax cuts with Ronald Reagan. He ramped up the economy, and the economy grew for a very, very long time, nearly 10 years. And people, after a while, thought that there would never be another recession again. Well, of course, that didn't happen, but I'm just pointing out that Reagan's policies were so successful that he added so much wealth and so much well-being and quality of life to people in this country that there's a long history of this kind of success. Besides, the main point I would answer to critics of you and the tax reform, John, is what's your alternative? We haven't heard any alternative of the American left at all, other than just staying with the status quo, slow growth, low wages, unemployed young African Americans, people who are trying to get good careers started and can't, just people that are not doing that great on the wage scale. That's the alternative. There is no alternative being offered by anybody but people who want to see tax reform and growth. What's your choice? You either take a chance on this and make it work, or you just stay where you are, at which point we're just going to continue to spiral downward.
Well, that's it. I mean, right now you have a binary choice. You either vote for the plan that is going to come under reconciliation, or you don't, and then you have the status quo, which has given us under 1% growth. To me, I don't see where that is a good bet.
No, the problem is the American left wants people to be in this kind of poor position. They want you to live in a slow growth economy. They want you to not have these growth and opportunities. African Americans need to have more opportunities for their young people to grow and find careers and jobs. That's what we need. And, we conservatives, I think, want to see that dynamic economy growing. And right now, where's the alternative? It's very disheartening that not one member of the Democratic Party broke ranks and voted for a better future. They just voted for standing pat. That's very, very unfortunate because it shows lack of vision for the future.
Well, and the Democrats' alternative that they presented, let's make no mistake about it, the Bernie Sanders and the Democrats' alternative plan that they submitted was a $10 trillion tax increase with $11 trillion of additional spending. So, the Democrats who were complaining about, the debt's going to go up, their plan said we're going to raise taxes by $10 trillion and we're going to raise spending by $11 trillion. So that made no sense. Plus, it would put the economy into a tailspin. It is amazing I really think, Governor, I want to get your opinion on this. I really think the Democrats are going down a very dangerous path here with obstruction on tax cuts, number one, and then number two, putting their entire bucket of political capital into some kind of Trump impeachment or wrongdoing or Russian collusion or obstruction of justice. I mean, I don't see any of it there. But my question is, if there's not there, they have not put forth any alternative policies because every bit of oxygen they have is taken up on trying to impeach or get rid of Trump. Does this have the potential to just backfire if there isn't anything there?
Well, it's all you hear. That's the only discussion that you hear. This is impeach, impeach, impeach. And the problem, of course, is this. Donald Trump was elected fair and square, honestly. And this constant soft coup that they're attempting is just an effort to really undo the American democracy and election system. That's actually a larger scale problem in the long run than any sort of complaint about the president. So I think that what I would really like to see is some vision coming out of the American left, which at this point dominates the Democratic Party. And to my Democrat friends out there, your party doesn't have to be in control of these people forever. You can retake your Democratic Party back and offer something positive and constructive. They're just not doing it right now. And Virginia's part of the problem. When the time came to actually vote for the future and vote for a reform that actually might spur the economy along, both of the Virginia senators voted no. It's just very sad.
Governor, let's get to politics. You won a statewide election in Virginia in 1990, what was it, 97, right?
For governor, yes. Mm-hmm. And
for
93 for attorney general.
Right. So you won in 93 and 97, but it's been 2 decades. You look at the results in Virginia, the Democrats have now won 10 consecutive statewide races, and the margins are getting bigger. I mean, so the Republican Party right now is like it's like football. It's like the Cleveland Browns. They just can't win a game, right? They got a 10-game losing streak. And the demographics continue to change in the Democrats' favor, even beyond what it is now. You look at Chesterfield and some of these other areas. I don't see the math here. I don't see how a Republican wins in this state again.
Well, it's what we were talking about a few minutes ago. You've got to actually offer a positive vision for the future for everybody. You can't just get narrow. And my concern right now is this. The candidates that are talking about running right now are very narrow in their approach. And you're not going to be able to win the state of Virginia with a narrow approach.
I agree.
When I've run in the past, it's been for the car tax cut, which people I think still love. That really, I would recommend in the new House of Delegates that there be a car tax caucus to talk about how you actually go on and begin to get things phased out on the car tax. Instead, the policy is to reimpose the car tax dollar by dollar and minute by minute. But the past is not important. What is important is the future. And the future means that we have to have a dynamic, growing economy in Virginia and in the United States. And by the way, the Virginia economy is a microcosm of the United States. That's why your Senate candidates are so important. But if we continue to run narrow candidacies on the basis of just, appealing to a narrow group of people, then you're going to get 40%, and we're going to continue to lose.
Look, there's no question. Because when I make this argument, then people say to me, well, Chris Christie won New Jersey 2 times. Larry Hogan won Maryland, right? We have a Republican governor right now in Michigan. So it can be done. You can turn the corner. But I think you're right. I think you have to there's got to be some kind of a compelling message. I don't think Ed ever really had that. And, look, they gambled. I've said this on my show several times. Governor Gilmore, Ed Gillespie gambled. And the gamble was that if I don't embrace Trump and I don't really take any of his issues and I just do my policies, all the Trump voters will turn out and vote for me anyway because they hate the other guy. So I'll get all those. And Fairfax will not hate me. Well, he lost the gamble on both ends. All the Trump voters did not turn out. Many of them stayed home because of the nature of his campaign. And Fairfax hated him double. So that just doesn't work. I mean, there's got to be a better pathway to victory. That gamble blew up, right?
Well, the big advantage we've got going forward for the future. And again, I know you're working your way around to whether I'm going to run for the Senate. I don't have to run for anything at this point in my life. I've moved forward successfully. I've been successful in business. I've been successful in politics. If I were to ever run again, it's because I want to try to help the people of Virginia and the people of the United States the way that I always have about the future. And the big advantage we've got is that the left wing in this country is not offering any kind of future for the people of the United States or the people of Virginia. They just don't have a vision for the future. It's just trading money from one citizen to another and raising taxes until finally the economy collapses, the way we've always seen it do when you try to apply the socialistic type of approaches. It never works, and the evidence is there. So we have to have a more positive vision for the future of Virginia and the future of the country, and that means growing the economy and spreading the wealth because of the growth of the opportunities that can be created. But right now, the left doesn't want to do anything. They just want to stand pat, and that's not good enough.
So, Governor, time
Yes,
is
sir.
running out here. Are you going to get in this thing or not?
Hey, how's that swamp laryngitis working for you, John? Is that okay today?
It's getting a little
Look,
bit better, but I can't seem to get over it.
I want to say thank you, but I want to be direct with you. I know how to run and win, and I have run and won, and I have run unsuccessfully, and I know what it takes. And I am concerned that the candidates that you're talking about, as good as their motives may be, and as good people as they might be, some of them, they're not equipped to win. Forgive me, but I think the objective of the exercise is to win the election so that you can actually influence the future in a positive way. I have no need to run in order to preen my ego. I've already been the governor of Virginia. That's ego enough. The goal here is to win so that you can do the right thing for the people of Virginia, and I will assess that. I know the building blocks that have to be put into place. Maybe they can be put into place this year, and maybe they can't. But I doubt seriously that the people who are talking about running right now can do it. But, you can help assess that as time goes on.
Governor, are you going to the 2017 Republican advance this coming weekend at the Homestead?
I am not. I think that this is not the time for me to go up to that conclave. This is just not the time to do it, so I do not plan to go. I am, of course, still in conversations about going into the government in order to try to help the country. That may happen and it may not. But the goal right now for me is to find the best possible path for the future and for the people of Virginia and the people of the United States. And I don't think I really need to go up there. The future this spring will be determined elsewhere.
All right, I understand. Governor Gilmore, you're a former Attorney General of Virginia. Looking at the Trump situation, Robert Mueller, the Democrats now screaming on cable news network that there's some kind of obstruction of justice going on. Do you see any of that here?
Well, we don't know yet. Everything's behind a curtain and hidden. General Flynn, of course, has pled guilty to an offense, and we don't know where that's headed. So it's impossible for me to predict to you on the radio show where the thing is going. To me, the objective right now is to address the challenges that are facing the United States, and I want to tell you quickly what they are. There's slow growth in this country, which means that you don't have job opportunities for anybody, not in the minority community or any other community. We have an international crisis situation that is very, very serious. So my concern really is that these distractions over here, if they come out to be serious, then they'll just have to be addressed through the criminal justice system. I've done that all my life, so we'll just have to let that system work. But right now, I want to make sure that we get as much unity in America as possible to face the international crises and the domestic crises that we have. And I want to try to play a role in trying to bring those unities together.
So what would that role be, Governor?
Well, I'm speaking here right now on matters of policy through my nonprofit. I don't advocate for candidates or particular legislation, but AmericanOpportunity.org talks about the policies that are needed for the country. And when I decide to put my political hat on, then I'll speak on behalf of what needs to be done in the electoral system in order to make things right. And, try to address the fact that we have two members of the Senate that just don't vote for anything in a positive way. Obstruction is just no policy for the future. Obstruction is not a policy for the future of Virginia or the United States. We have to have a positive forward-going plan, and I hope that this tax reform ultimately will turn out that way. I expect it will.
Do you think that Jeff Sessions, in retrospect, do you think he should have recused himself, again, as a former Attorney General of a sizable enterprise. Do you think that he should have recused himself? Because if he hadn't, Trump probably wouldn't be in this circumstance now.
Well, I don't know whether Jeff Sessions should have recused himself. I'm inclined to think he probably was not necessary. I think he was put under a lot of pressure from the left-wing media who were impugning his integrity. But I think that the Attorney General's integrity stands on its own feet, and I think that he is acting with integrity as the Attorney General. If appearances or realities of conflicts would have come up, he could have addressed it at any point. But I think the decision to recuse probably shouldn't have been made in the heat of the onslaught of the liberal media.
Speaking of the media bias, I've got one more minute. Governor Gilmore, if you were to become a candidate for U.S. Senate, how would you deal with the liberal media that would be attacking you every day?
Well, I think that you have to talk to the media in a responsible way. I always have. I've always gone on TV. I've always appeared before the newspapers, but just to talk about what the vision for the future is. And then the attacks and so on, you just have to learn how to ward those off. I don't think that the people who are putting their names out there right now probably have got the experience to do that. One affirmatively draws opposition. I think we're headed down a bad path, but eventually, by the way, I'm very optimistic. I think the Republican Party and the conservatives are going to succeed. I think that President Trump is an engine of change. I believe he is. I think he was elected to be an engine of change, and I think he's doing that. I do think that he needs a little better PR, but that's something that I think is going to emerge also.
Maybe I should be there helping him, right, Governor?
I have proposed exactly that, John.
Yes, maybe I'm on the wrong side of town, right? He was doing better when I was when my studio was on Pennsylvania Avenue. See, I got here to the Capitol, everything went to the crapper. I'm out of time. I want to thank Governor Gilmore for being with us. We'll see him again soon, and I'm sure when he does decide to run for U.S. Senate, I know he'll be so excited to make that announcement right here on the John Fredericks
Just keep looking at those lobbies
Network.
through the binoculars, John. Just keep looking.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Keep it right here.